Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie and I'm delighted to be joined, may I say, by Paul Martin, an account executive at Landis Technologies. Paul, thanks very much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me, Charlie. Really looking forward to our chat here today.
Yeah, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So, Paul, you have put together a quick demo of the Microsoft Teams contact center that's offered by Landis ahead of time, and we'll cut to that shortly. But I've got a couple of kind of quick questions that I want to run through first, just so we can best frame the demo. And I think maybe the best place that we can start this conversation is maybe if I ask you to kind of tell us a little bit about Landis Technologies and kind of your contact center design vision.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So Landis is a Microsoft partner. We've worked with Microsoft for years, dating back to the late 90s. Obviously, now we develop solutions for Microsoft Teams, but we've been doing this, prior to Teams, it was Skype for Business and Link and OCS. So going back a number of generations, we've really just focused on developing solutions that help complement Microsoft and cover some of the areas that organizations may not find total coverage right out of the box with Microsoft Teams, such as contact center, call recording solutions, attendant consoles, those types of things, IVRs. So really our main focus is products that are clean and simple that integrate into Teams, look and feel exactly like Teams. If users can use our product and not realize that they're not using just regular Teams, that's our goal. We want our products to disappear into Teams and just help complement it. So yeah, when it comes to what we design, our main focus is on simplicity, especially on the contact center side of things. Contact centers have a reputation when it comes to deployment. These projects can last quarters and be pretty in depth, a lot of resources tied up in them. And so we really want to make that more of a plug and play type process. So simplicity is really at the heart of what we design when it comes to our products for teams.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of what you've designed, I understand that the Landis Microsoft Teams contact center is built on the Extend architecture. And for anybody who doesn't know, can you kind of explain what that means and why it's so significant as something to look for within a Teams contact center solution?
Yeah, that's a really important distinction. So Microsoft has two different categories that they certify solutions, contact center solutions for. One is the Extend and the other is Connect. So Landis is certified as an Extend contact center, meaning we're using their APIs to deliver all this functionality inside of the organization's Teams tenant. So all the functionality happens there. The voice call stays there. There's no porting numbers to Landis. There's no call traffic flowing elsewhere. The connected model includes a broader range of contact centers. However, it does require call traffic routed externally, routing through a third-party service to deliver functionality, then sending the call back to Teams. So a lot more links in the chain with that type of configuration. Oftentimes it carries some direct routing requirements that can really add to the cost. And just the ongoing management of that solution can be a little bit trickier. So that's why the Extend architecture is much more favored. It just allows for that easy plug and play, keeps everything contained within your environment there, and just makes for much more manageable solution down the road as well.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe there's also kind of a power option, but as you mentioned, there are no certified power
Right.
Microsoft Teams
Yeah.
solutions yet.
Yeah, at the moment it's only Extend and Connect, and like I mentioned, out of all the products that Microsoft has certified, there's a pretty short list of ones that have qualified for the Extend architecture, and Landis is one of those.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a surprisingly small list actually, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. So yeah, I think now we've kind of gone through some of those basics. Let's kind of look into this demo that you've created for the Teams experience. And what I will add, this is for the manager experience, and then in our after the demo, we'll come back and talk about some of the admin and of course the agent experience too.
All right, just to take you through a little quick overview here of the manager experience, one thing that we try to do is keep the app itself and the product itself looking as much like Teams as we can. So as your managers navigate to different reports and live screens and wall boards and dashboards, it just feels like it's a part of their team's client. Obviously, that's very intentional. They can pop it out to separate windows as they're watching certain metrics throughout the day and keep them always visible. But just having it immersed in Teams is really helpful. You'll notice they can build a dashboard for displaying whatever key metrics they're watching throughout the day to allow them to stay on top of the details that they need to keep an eye on. And then from there, of course, they can dive deeper into observing live call activity, calls that are in the queue, being able to see transcription for calls that are in progress, or even see the sentiment ranking for how calls are going. They, of course, can coach them, barge, listen, whisper into the call. They can see other live metrics such as queue wallboards showing the amount of activity taking place in the queues and what personnel are on hand available in the queues, being able to add and remove users from the queues as necessary. So yeah, the live metrics just really allow them to get a live look at what's happening in the contact center at all times. This is a simple wallboard that they may even display on a dashboard somewhere in the environment if they wanted to. And then they also have a whole list of metrics that are historical reports that are built into the platform. And again, these are easily accessible. They can pop them out to a separate window and just keep them visible. But it allows for them to see, for example, the queue summary page, easily modify the page to show the metrics that they're looking for and that they're interested in, and clearly see all the data without a whole lot of customization or any custom building necessary, showing the activity in the queue, callback requests, abandoned call percentages, average wait times, and a whole lot more as to the queue activity. And same goes, drop it down to the agent level, being able to see the individual user performance within those queues, who's taking a lot of calls, who's missing a lot of calls, time spent available, and various metrics like that. There's quite a bit here. Of course, you can dive in and see more detailed queue reports that would show the detailed call logs, easily accessing call recordings and playing back that information if you want to just go retrieve any type of recording, being able to see what time of day call volume's highest and lowest in your contact center and among certain queues. Even taking a look at agent timeline and seeing when they signed into the queue, when they went on break, what their status was throughout the day, how long their phone calls lasted. So in those cases where they perhaps have remote work agents and they want to keep an eye on their efficiency, they can just keep an eye on that here using the agent timeline report. And there's others, wrap up answers that allow them to see a breakdown of how the questions are answered at the end of the survey questions at the end of a call for the agents, and a whole lot more. But all told, it's just really condensed within the contact center application inside of Teams, and it allows those managers just have a really clean experience and have the information that they're looking for right here at their fingertips, and be able to quickly find that information, share it with other managers, save it locally, or whatever they need to do.
Excellent. Well, that was just a short demo of the manager experience within the Microsoft Teams Contact Center from Landis. And just quickly, a quick question for you, Paul, before we move on to kind of the agent experience. What within that demo do you think really differentiates the Landis Contact Center solution?
Yeah, great question. So I think one of the main things is the setup and configuration. Everything that you saw there within the demo is really how the product appears out of box. It's common to get a demo for a solution, and then when you go to set it up yourself, you realize just how much work and customization went into creating the demo that you saw. With this, really, you're looking at a few, maybe 30 minutes of configuration to create a call queue, have calls routing to that queue, and start to see reports just the way you saw them there. So it's really, the reporting, the analytics, the ability for managers to quickly go in, search for an agent, for a phone record, or any other report that they're looking for, to have that from day one, have it right out of box without a ton of customization needed. That's not always the case with contact centers, so we're always quick to emphasize that as well.
Hmm.
The other thing I would mention, I didn't really get into it in the demo there, but the admin side of things as well. That's really where Landis also stands out quite a bit, in that it's really easy for whoever you grant permissions to, whether that is a strictly an admin user, or maybe it's a shift supervisor that has some permissions to change the settings of the queue or change the welcome message on the front end or something like that. Really easy for them to go in and just make those changes. And like I mentioned, everything is permissions driven, so you can lock it down to only the settings and permissions that they should have, and the settings that they should be able to adjust. And it really helps create a contact center where all the right people have the right access, and you can get very granular. Even as you're deploying it to multi-region, lots of different teams globally, you can make sure every person has, the access that they should.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you said, actually, that's a really important differentiator too. So I'm glad that you touched on the admin experience a little bit there. Now, I guess kind of the elephant in the room almost is this agent experience, perhaps the most
Yeah.
important experience within the whole solution. What great capabilities do agents get from the Landis contact center solution?
Well, probably the best feature of the product from an agent standpoint is what I mentioned here at the top of the call, where it just really blends into their team's experience. So one of the big hurdles that contact centers and organizations face as they deploy contact centers is obviously the resistance to change as they migrate from one platform to the next, but also training and education for agents and getting them to adapt to a new platform. With this, as your agents are familiar with Microsoft Teams, they know what it's like to see a call ringing to them, answer a call, transfer the call if they need to, manage that caller. The experience really remains the same within the product. They'll have their own dashboard where they can click the toggle to sign in and out of call queues and see their own call history or whatever you want to show them. But really, the fact that it just blends into the Teams experience, and it feels to the agents like it's just a part of Microsoft Teams. Like they signed in one day and Teams added all these great features for the agent. So the ease of adoption is one of its best features. But then beyond that, there's a lot of things like CRM call pop, where calls come in, and even before they go to answer it, it can display on screen who they're about to talk to, what queue it's coming from, the open ticket, or whatever information you want to pull from the CRM. So there's a lot of things like that, the ability to put themselves on break and have wrap up time and those types of things that you would expect with a common contact center. But yeah, it's just from the ground up, it's built in Teams and really easy for those new features to be introduced to the agents.
Yeah, and I think one extra reason actually why that's so crucial, I suppose, is that the very definition of a contact center agent is changing. It's not only kind of people in a traditional contact center that take customer calls anymore. It's also kind of field service personnel, store associates, marketing and sales people who kind of muck in when the demand really surges. So I think that's a really crucial capability, as you mentioned. And there's so much more that we could possibly dig into, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. So I think maybe the best final question to ask you is kind of for demos on the agent as well as the admin experience too, alongside kind of a deeper dive into the manager experience. Where can our viewers kind of go to learn more about the Landis Microsoft Contact Center solution?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we'd be happy to connect with you one-on-one and give you a more in-depth demo. And of course, we can tailor that to the needs of your organization. Probably the easiest is just to go to the landistechnologies.com website. You can reach out to our team here. There's also, we host a lot of webinars on almost a weekly basis that focus on certain aspects of the product. One we have coming up here shortly is more focused towards a lot of the AI integrations that Landis offers with IVR and conversational IVR, IVR for the callers, where it can answer questions, those types of things. So we're going to be diving into that in an upcoming session here. But yeah, on the landistechnologies.com website, there's great information on the products. There's some demo videos, and of course, you can connect with us, and we'd be happy to show you more.
Yeah, there's so much even within there in terms of conversational AI in the IVR, the CRM integration too. I think a lot of people will be surprised just by how tight those are with Microsoft Teams these days with your CRM. But we shouldn't go into all of that for now, I suppose. I think that's maybe a great place to end today's conversation. So thank you very much for joining me today, Paul.
Thanks for the time, Charlie. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And also, thanks everybody for watching. Bye for now.